I have just picked the Evva Dual, and I thought, while it's all in pieces on the tray before I put it back together, it'd be a good time to record an intro video. So this is a 12 slider lock. This version is Black Belt 2 on the LPU belt ranking scale, and that's because all of these sliders have false gates and only one true gate, so there's no mastering in this. And there's Black Belt 1 and Red Belt versions of this, depending on if you have mastered sliders or not. Yeah, it's especially in this version, is a fairly awful lock to pick, to be honest. And I thought we might as well have a look at the internals while I've got it in bits. So it's really nicely made, to be fair. You have these tiny little holes here which take these mini springs, and then the sliders have this small nub on them that interacts with the spring, and then this is the part that interacts with the bitting in the key. So if we put that in without the spring for a moment, you can see, like in the sidebar groove there, it's sat into a false gate. And if we put the key in, the true gate is now at the bottom of this channel. The sidebars are such that the bits that interact with the cuts are on the bottom of them, so that would sit in that channel like that. It's also worth looking at this while the key is in, that this slider sits above what you would call the shear line, while the key is in the operating position. So this slider is now sat above the top of the lock. That's because the core, kind of like the 3KS, has these ribs in it. So when it's in that position, it can sit in this rib and it can turn, but it protruding like that acts as an anti-pull feature. So some of the sliders will always be above and below the core when the key is in the operating position, so you can't just pull the core out like it has a C-clip, which would be on the back, but yeah, you have this sprung-loaded piece that sits in here. That does not actually do anything for stopping you pulling the core, but the sliders protruding do. So as I start to put this back together, let's have a look at some other features. Now, because all the sliders sit, let's say all of them, some of them sit above or below the shear line while it's in this its neutral position. We can't just gut it with the key. We can't use the key to like in a normal sort of pin tumbler lock. When you put the key in, the pins would be at the shear line, and that, when you take the C-clip off the back, allows the core to just slide out. This, by virtue of that anti-pull defense, means you have to use a tool to put the sliders in the right position to gut it. You can like manually prod them so they're all kind of in a middle neutral position, or you can use the gutting key that is available. I'll show you how that works. This is a broken one because I've used this thing so many times it broke. It is supposed to look like this. These are, at least when it comes off my printer, slightly oversized, so you just need to like use it in the lock a few times to help it, help the plastic to deform a little bit. You can see with the springs in now, these are all sat like below the shear line. And if we put the key in, some would be above, some would be below, some would be neutral. But when we put this gut key in, it pulls them all below the shear line. Obviously they're not in the operating position for their gates, but it allows us to pull the core up. And when I cut to the picking video, you'll see I use this broken one and it works just the same. It's just, yeah, slightly more awkward for me to get out, so I end up using tweezers at the back of it. And that gut key is available on, I want to say Thingiverse, but it's definitely on the LPU Discord and the STL dumpster channel in there. I think that was designed by Rain, like most of these gut keys are. I think he did the Evva 3KS as well, so thank you to Rain for making my life a little bit easier with producing tools for everything. Yeah, so assembly and disassembly are basically the same. You put the springs in. These are just incredibly thin springs, so you do have to be a little bit careful with those. I'm using these like fine point tweezers. These are an iFixit set, which are definitely worth picking up something with a fine point on them, because your normal sort of shaped pinning tweezers are just not going to cut it for springs like this. Oops. And obviously these springs, being tiny, are an absolute pain to get in and out and pick up with tweezers. So, and they are just small enough that they will disappear off onto the floor and you will never find them again. So yeah, small tip tweezers are the way to go. So you can see I am putting this in with the little nubs at the top, and then the big like bitting surface is inside the lock like this. Once they're all in, we'll just use this gut key to hold them all in place, so they are now all in a position where they don't protrude above or below the core. And the sidebars go in with the bottom of the lock, so they face downwards. So the angled surface faces towards the bottom of the core. If you put them in upside down, it's not the end of the world. They will still work. No, they won't. That's completely the wrong word. They won't work, but you won't break the lock. You can just use the gut key to take this thing apart again, which is one of the nicer features of it. So, and there is a tiny little spring in this hole here as well, which makes this, I think this is anti-drill, not 100%, but that makes that springy as well. So it springs. And, so with the sidebars held and that thing held in place, you can slide it into the core, push that little sprung bit in, and then that just sits like here. And then we can push the gut key out. See, that no longer comes out because even though the C-clip isn't on, the sliders are there. And then the key will operate the lock again, and it will pull. There's a bit of wobble in it, but it's not going to come out. So even if you manage to forget the C-clip or break the C-clip or whatever with a physical attack, it won't just slide out. So yeah, that is the Evva 3KS. I picked this with a filed down multi-pick 1mm topic keyway tensioner, which fits just in there like that. A lot of people would pick them with something like these, the split, which does give you more control over the core for counter-rotating out of the false gates. However, I found picking anywhere other than in this bottom warding groove quite uncomfortable. And then I'm using Moki's extra profiles for most of this. So these are the round tip ones on the glowing handles, and then these green ones are the flat tips, but they're all Moki extra profiles. They're just a little bit thicker, so you don't bend the pick when you're bullying the sliders. But yeah, we'll cut to the picking video, which I think has some 3D printing noise in the background. So I hope you enjoy that.